Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2025. I've been away for some time, and that's because I've been working full time. I actually have a good job just because of this GitHub template, actually. And yeah, I've been really busy in life, enjoying life, I guess, and graduated from university or whatever. But, I had time recently to update this template the day before my birthday. I had time to update this template. And what I did is I updated the entire project to Tauri V2, and this video is going to be about migrating or some tips on how to migrate properly without and avoiding some bugs that might occur because I encountered some bugs. Uh, some other things I've done is I've updated the project to use TypeScript as well. That's just because I have been converted to a TypeScript person now. I do see it's very useful. It avoids bugs and simple mistakes you can make without a type system. And, I really enjoy it now. It has its quirks, but you kind of learn to do simple things. It's only the complicated things where, some people take it too far, but let's not worry about that. And lastly, I have updated to React 19. So React is now version 19, got released. It has some improvements. Most notably to me is the removal of forward ref. So I don't think we use forward ref ever, but in my other project we have. So although this template has been updated to Tauri v2, and you can use it in your project, or if you're new here and new to Tauri, you can use that. Or if you've already used the template, you can compare the differences between of each file. I suggest going through each file and just looking at the differences between the two. Like, I removed some of the things in app.tsx, and I've also added an error boundary. So what an error boundary is I know this is like React specific and not Tauri, is basically if you make a mistake in your React code, like even in TypeScript, suppose you use like the exclamation mark, which is basically saying that, oh, you know better than the type system, and like you actually make a mistake. Instead of showing like a basically what happens in production is that the app will show a blank screen. So what would you rather have, a blank screen, or would you rather have the UI show some like an error, some sort of what went wrong is what I've called it. So like the traceback, I guess. Well, it's not really the traceback, just the error, which is useful enough to fix the bug. It's also useful for debugging when you're doing your thing. And I've added like a button here to basically refresh the page, or I guess that's what you could provide to, whatever. And something I did recently was adding better lazy. So code splitting is very important. I did it in a recent project we're going to take a look at, and basically code splitting avoids basically improves the initial load up time. So if we look at the project I've been working on before, which is not open source, but it's not like someone's gonna steal my code. But essentially, it improves load up times by delaying the loading of the code. But anyways, let's get started with migrating from Tauri v1. Sorry for the long whatever, the long talk or whatever. If you want to have like a know what I do day to day, I guess you can ask for that. I can make a video. It's pretty nice. So what I suggest you do is this video is going to be long now, but I'm going to go over the steps we're going to take. Or why am I building this? Okay, I shouldn't be building that because we're converting. So first thing to do, right, is follow these instructions. So, go to your cargo, add this stuff. So we'll do that. This is simple enough to do. So you go to cargo.toml. So you can open this using Control E. In some of my previous videos, you guys told me that I might go too quickly in my keyboard shortcuts. So I'm gonna explain what keyboard shortcuts I use. So you can use Control E to go to a file. You can use Control B to toggle the sidebar. I've moved mine to the right a few years ago. It used to be, or maybe right after I started making the videos, because it's just easier. Because usually when you read left to right, you're gonna use this left editor bar, right? So you want to reduce the amount of space that is taken up here when you're split screening. And I split screen often just because I open the same file a lot. So after you've done that, uh, they're gonna say you're gonna basically the current main file is gonna turn into, as they call it, the library file. So we're gonna make that a lib. So you can use F2 to rename it on Windows or in Linux, but on Mac OS it's Enter. And I actually, for work, I use Mac OS, so I kind of messed up something over there. I think I screwed something up. Yeah, I did screw something up. So don't make the mistake of this. So yeah, click this, turn it to lib, and then there's gonna be a main file. So basically, you want to turn this into run, like the documentation says. And now we're gonna create our own main file. So I guess we can do it like this. And I'm not too sure if we can get rid of this. Let's look at what okay, so I kept it there. So we'll keep it here for now, maybe in the future I'll remove it just to, do something. So create this, save it as main.rs. Oh, and don't connect your hard drive to your laptop while making YouTube videos, so don't make my mistake. So we did this. This is pretty easy. So after we've done that, they have this tool to migrate a lot of your things. So we're gonna follow their instructions of. So I don't know if I showed it in the video, but I started using pnpm, and this is just because I found it to be faster, right? So we're gonna use this, and we have a bunch of stuff here that this is really important too, I guess. So if you're using I guess we can start now. If you're using the package JSON I guess that's not really. The product name is more important actually. Product name. So basically the product name is now the top level. And I'm pretty sure some other things removed top level, but the binary, so you must add main binary. Okay, so this is an important change, but it's not really, we don't really care actually about the binary name. And all of this updater thing we'll go over in like a future video just because I don't know what happened to it. Like the CI/CD. Okay, where is it? So if you look at the build, you have to start using the different environment variables when you're running automatic builds. That's kind of the only thing I really encountered or I noticed. It's actually better to look at Tauri's updated, what's that called? Build. So if you go here to distribute, it should be here. Okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, so you go to pipelines and GitHub. Most of this is pretty good. I think, yeah, most of this is updated now. Before it used to be out of date, but you can use this to, check something out. Just saying. Yeah, that's going back to the point. So after we've done the migration, there is one thing that was really annoying, which is I guess we gotta do this. So for me, I'm just gonna add everything for compatibility. So basically we're gonna use the system provider that I talked about before. So the migration tool is going to do this sort of thing, and this is actually a bug, and you're gonna run into a lot of issues if you're using my template, because that's not the way to do it anymore. You actually want to run this somewhere else. So for me, it's over here is good enough. And yeah, there's actually more to it. Let's see, what do I even do here? Oh, okay, this is something else that I have not ported yet, so let's not talk about that. And I believe I no longer use yeah, I added async to this. So, you can do it like this instead. That's pretty good. Another important thing is this osType. So osType, if you use this API, this Tauri API, where is it? So yeah, so two things. So os.type no longer needs await, which is good because it shouldn't need await, right? It should be hard. It should be. I think what they do is or how I would do it is I server side render it basically. So like basically use a macro or something and inject it at runtime. So I believe that's what they do now, which is, the smart way to do it, because why should you need to await the osType? But the breaking change is that it returns some enums. So don't use you basically have to find all usages of this osType, and you have to rename it like that. So I think we got lucky here that we did not get lucky, my bad. But yeah, this is gonna be, you can use the search all to make your life easier when you're converting project, just because you will run into some bugs if you don't. And as you can see, there is a bug that is specific to my app. So my app uses the old enumerations, even though that's not how it is anymore. So we have to go here and we have to update this to basically, what the hell? It's not. Right. So just make sure it's Mac OS. So this is an example of a bug in the wild where, my template does not do something like this, but my application actually uses the osType within it. That's kind of why I added the osType to the provider in the first place. And now we can see why I did that. It's I literally fixed my bug. But yeah, so make sure you do all that. That's good. The next thing is the title bar. So again, this app window is kind of screwed, but I believe you can just copy paste the code. I think you can get away with it. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do here. And the other thing is that I've started using tabs, and this is just because I was thinking about it, and I said aside from YAML files, tabs are like customizable. So, like, you know, you for us in JavaScript, I guess I always like it to be 2 lines or 2 spaces. But, someone else might like 4 spaces if you're working with different people. So then, basically, if you have an IDE, you can just say set the tab size to whatever you want, and you don't have to worry about all these simple issues. And this is pretty good for the JavaScript side. There might be some. Yeah, so I don't know what I'm doing here, but let's not. There we go. I think that is it. Oh, I don't even know why I have this app example here. This is kind of dumb. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. I think a good example is looking at the Tauri V2. The biggest issue actually is the tray icon. That required a lot of work required a lot of reworking. And some other things you need to know is that you don't need the let's see. Basically, if you use like some Tauri specific plugins or APIs, I rarely recommend you go and click it. So maybe you use like the updater we use. This is actually a good example. I actually had to do this myself. Basically, this entire thing got changed and it was really annoying to fix. But if you have TypeScript, it's much easier because it tells you what went wrong. And the new update code is over here, and yeah. So as you can see, it's basically the same thing. Nothing changed in my application, so I'm just gonna copy paste what's in my thing, and it's still in the if statement as well, so we're good there. So that's good. And then what has changed is this show in folder. So Tauri finally added a default show in folder, so you don't need to use my command over here anymore. Thankfully, actually, because Tauri has finally added their own implementation in a plugin called Opener. So we're gonna show an example of how to actually add plugins in the new version of Tauri. I'm not too sure if no. So make sure you're cleaning up properly because you might accidentally remove an import you actually need. So make sure you remove this command and we're Gucci now. But how do we replace it? So go over here to plugins. I really recommend you, if you need like a system feature, I recommend you start here and go through all of these plugins. And the one we're looking for is called Opener, but it's a very new plugin, so it's not going to be here actually. It's very new, so they haven't even updated the docs for it. But I got a GitHub notification, which is why I know it exists. So to add a plugin, let's just look at the tray plugin, I guess, the system icon or whatever. Where is it? Okay, so apparently the system icon thing is not tray icon, is what it's called. So how do we do this? Yeah, we'll get to this in the future. Alright, it's somewhere here. Alright, so shell is also a plugin now. I am a bit confused. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna go here. This is this a good one? Okay, so this is how you do it, right? So we're gonna do this and then we're gonna call opener, but run this in your actual thing. So you don't have to do this just because you might not actually use it, but my project does actually use that API, the opener API. And we don't need to do this Tauri invoke anymore. It's very simple, I guess. If you look at the example view, I actually have it. I actually added it. It's called reveal item in here. So we just import this. And I recommend you install something to organize imports. It's very useful in JavaScript, so just do that when you can. And now we just do reveal item in dir. That's essentially all we have to do. Great. And I don't really care about awaiting it, so don't worry about that. Show item, show in folder, remove this. Great. I'll probably go miss some things that I should. Missing icon menu. The front end Tauri APIs might be buggy. Okay, so this is an important one. So the way to detect if you're running in Tauri has changed. So this is a very important one. This is no longer the way to do it. It's they've actually added a variable. So if you go to the system, if you go to the provider, it has the way to do it. And we're basically going to use that. Window dot. Yeah, you want to make sure you remove all cases of let's not talk about this. Let's just remove that from the README. Who cares about that? But make sure you remove all these things. Now, regarding the store, I guess we could do that. So here's the TypeScript update as well if you need it, to avoid the TypeScript warnings that are Tauri related. So this is a good one. The store API got updated, and I actually ran into some bugs a few days ago when I was experimenting or testing when I was testing some of the things. Or is it? Hmm. Okay, yeah. There's a lot of things that I will skip over, but don't worry about it. App window initialization. So yeah, make sure this is the app window bug. Not sure what this is about. Let's ignore that. Ignore that. Let's ignore that. You need to add this to your app packages if you still use that file. What else? The title bar. Yeah, I don't recommend you use the custom title bar anymore. And the reason being is that now that Tauri's updated to V2, you're going to get that custom. Okay, so what the hell? Well, this is great. Additional properties not allowed. Okay, so if you run into this issue, I guess I I guess you're kind of screwed if you run into this issue, right? Because I don't understand what's going on. Okay, I got the bug. Basically, if you have custom configuration files, Tauri's not gonna migrate it for you. So I'm actually surprised I debugged that as quick as I did. But instead of Tauri as the key, you have to use app. So, thank my debugging skills for figuring this out quickly. But, that's just because I am well versed in the code base. If you're not like well versed in your code base, you would probably take too long to figure out that mistake. And what else is there to it? The store, right? The dual store. Okay, so basically, I have an example here called in storage.ts. This is basically a really good way. What's that called? Other than this mistake, this is a really good dual storage implementation. So if you're in, what's that called? Yeah, if you're shipping an app that uses either the system or the browser, and don't ship a desktop app unless it's for privacy reasons. Then, if your app can run in the browser, the only reason I'm making my app a desktop app is because I don't want to host the application and I want the user to be in charge of their own data. I don't want them to like have fears that I'm spying on them or anything. So privacy is really important, right? So that's why. I'm not gonna update the store in this video just because it's a bit hectic. My code's a bit hectic. So I really recommend if you need the Tauri store to look at how I do things here. I know a user said to use like Tanstack query, but maybe in the future we can use Tanstack query for some things. But I'll update the template on my own time. Essentially, the store API is now, you have to use await. So my strategy is that because the store API, because the store is not like a state variable, like suppose you initialize the store, you don't really want your app to completely re-render. So I decided to use a ref for that. And the other thing is that the defaults of the store are really good now. It auto saves by default with the delay. So that's really good. And what I've decided to do is that since we're using the store as a key value file, we are going to simply store everything in under a key called data instead of using everything at the root level. And this is because it's just easier to compare data between the local storage and the data exported by your store. And what I mean by that is suppose you have, I'm not even sure what to say. Just suppose you have like your store over here and you're like, let's export this to a JSON file. It's going to start with data, right? But if it didn't have data, it's going to show all these keys. But for localforage, suppose you're exporting like a namespace, because you're not going to store everything at the top level, because localforage is basically a single store, whereas a store is just one store of the many. You can have multiple stores. So with localforage, you might want to have like a namespace, which is what I'm using. And then under that, you're going to have your data. So that's kind of what my thinking was. and that's why local forage, like I don't use data here. So I think that's kind of what I did, but who knows if I should have done it a bit better. I think the other thing is that I wanted a top level place to update the data. And lastly, I don't know where it is, but you have to say a set item. Um, so you want to provide a way to like update the store. And I'm not going to explain my code here, but essentially just a bunch of data mutation and ensuring the store gets updated. Okay. The this save delay is like no longer needed anyways. So I'm gonna remove this in the future. This is no longer needed. It's not gonna store everything immediately. It's actually gonna take 100 milliseconds now. So you don't need this delay of 400 or whatever. You don't need to delay it at all. And where is it? Yeah. Okay. Don't need that. Avoid spiking disk IO. Yeah, don't need that anymore. We're good. And I'm not sure why we did 400 milliseconds. We'll probably do 100 milliseconds for local forage. But we are chilling there. Just make sure to fix all these bugs, essentially. So this is a good bug. So what do you do here? And, let this be an exercise for the viewer, right? Let this be an exercise for the year. And there is no way, we don't actually have a way to do this. So what do we do here? No method name get window. What do we do? Okay, that's right. Get web view window, right? So it's not actually as difficult as we thought it would be. Now, what is going on here? Set shadow. I don't believe we need to even use this anymore. Yeah, I don't believe we need to use as a raw window. I guess we gotta update the. I think this is no longer needed in Tauri v2. Yeah, so you can remove this crate now, and we're gonna we're gonna just do it that way. Set shadow. There you go. No longer need that. And I'm gonna end this video once we get to a working build, just because the video has gone a bit long, and I'm not too sure what to do with this series. I'm thinking of making some other type of tutorials, not necessarily Tauri related. So what is going on here? Let's see here. Emit. So you don't even need to do emit all anymore. You can just do emit and it'll be good. This actually should work, so I'm not too sure why it's not working. Okay, so that is really weird. Also, you want to make sure to fix the Vite thing that opens up the browser. So instead of this, yeah, instead of it called being Tauri Arch, it's Tauri Envarch. And instead of Tauri debug, it's ndebug. So if you're using any environmental variables from Tauri, it's actually a bit different now. Yeah, so lastly, you want to add this. There you go. That is. Now, the question is, why are we not able to do something that I do somewhere else? And that is a very good question. If debugging this stuff is really annoying, but we gotta do it. All right. What is emitter? There you go. We need to import this thing called emitter, I believe. And now, oh, I guess it says right here, trait emitter, which perhaps you want to import it. So it tells you exactly how to fix it. You don't actually need to look at code. Just read the message. It should be good enough. Main prelude is never run. That is weird. Private function. Okay, so lastly, make sure it's a public function. You know? Okay, I don't know what happened there. Oh, I guess we gotta clean the directory. Alright, let me get back to you. Bam, that is probably like 2 gigabytes of files that got deleted. So yeah, as we wait for that to finish up, what else can I talk about? Yeah, I guess I can say that the I guess I should have built this one, right? I guess I can show you guys how this one looks like. Oh, nope. But yeah, I guess I can say I have like 2 tutorials I guess I can make on Tauri. One is how to use the auto start and how to do deep linking. But it seems like the documentation is here, so I'm just going to leave it at, you know, here's the plugin list. It should say TypeScript, not JavaScript, and just go through anything you need. I guess building an Android application would be interesting, but my opinion when it comes to mobile development, after having some experience, is to use what's that called? What the hell is this? Basically, my opinion is to use the native technology, like Kotlin or Swift UI, rather than using things like React Native, just because updating is such a pain in the ass for React Native, and who knows how painful it'll be in Tauri when the next Android and iOS updates come through. So, maybe you might need to wait a year to see how Tauri does things, because every time a new Android and iOS version comes out with React Native and everything, you're basically waiting on React Native to update, right? So React Native updates, then you need the React Native libraries to update. Then you need all of them to update. Then you update. Then you migrate according to docs. High risk of bugs being encountered. That's essentially what happens in React Native. And I'm speaking in experience. That's not like fear mongering. That's actually what happened to me. So here is my app. It is not rendering. So when your app doesn't render, use Control-Shift-J, I believe, and we can see that the error is application dependent. So it's not because of my my template or anything, although I did run into this issue before. So if you look at my template, it's called make deer now. And instead of it being deer, it's called base deer. So there you go. The other problem though is that this is not going to work. Like, this entire functionality is not correct. And I'm not too sure. Yeah, so this is not actually going to work. You basically need to create a new function called read deer recursively. So copy that. And instead of doing, you don't need to do flatten or anything. Where is it? For const path of, there you go. So for now, we'll remove the types, but I'm just saying, in the future to use Typescript. And then also make sure to use organize import after so that things do load. Current monitor. Okay, I guess this is another one. So current monitor is now from the window, not web view. So Tauri would migrate automatically to web view window, but current monitor is like from another area, it seems. So lastly is the updater. It seems that the check update is not provided. And basically all of this is converted into one, right? Check update, yeah, exactly. Converted all into one. Title bar, title is not defined. So what did we do wrong here? We do not know, but that is okay because we have the TypeScript implementation down for us. Let's go. And there you go, guys. This is Tauri version 2 application running. And see, this is why I don't recommend using the custom title bar anymore, is because this double click doesn't work, and you can get the rainbow title bar as well. But don't worry about like customizing don't worry about like removing the title bar file, or don't worry about changing like a configuration file. Just set this boolean to false and my hook will take care of it for us. So as you can see, I don't even need to recompile the app. It just did it for us. Right? That's literally a one line change. And I really do like the Windows 11 title bar better. Or yeah, and in version 1 we used the custom title bar just because it used to be ugly. If you remember, if you recall, it used to be like it used to be like this contrast black, and it didn't really look nice with the operating system. But now that Tauri is version 2 and it does everything normally, I do strongly recommend you use the native title bar. I know I spent all this effort for you guys creating a custom title bar, but it was fun. It had its place. But yeah, this is basically it for the video. I think the last thing you want to do is, if you want to learn how to update dependencies like the React, which is like probably what we want to do. Where is it? So you want to update React to React 19. And yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't know what's going on here, but basically, make sure just do it yourself. Update to React 18.3 point something. So if you look at React npm, go to versions, you're basically looking for 18.3. All right, so update to 3.1, which is apparently what I'm using. It'll show some warnings if you need to be concerned. And then from 18.3.1, you can update to React 19 easily, and you should be good. I believe that is all for Tauri v2. As you see, I ported my application live for the first time, first take. No issue. Okay, that's a picture of my face, but no issues, or if there were issues, whatever. Yeah, that's it. Let me know if you want what kind of videos you want to see, and yeah, I will get back to you guys. Enjoy.